I used to shop at Walmart regularly, but I had to stop going after what was the creepiest experience of my life. It all started last summer. I would shop at Walmart every single week. I had a routine. I'd go every Sunday morning and buy everything I needed for the week. Most of the time, I got the same things, food and other essentials, and it would usually take me less than 30 minutes to get it all done. Walmart had good prices, plus there was one just over 5 minutes walk from my house. One day, I went to Walmart as usual and returned home. Everything seemed normal. The following day, I got the mail. I lived in a small but nice house in a pretty typical neighborhood. Most of the mail was just bills and advertisements, but one letter stood out from the rest. It was typed, but looked like an actual letter. It wasn't professional looking, and there was no return address or stamp. It didn't say who it was from either. It just said, "Read me." When I opened it, I found a single sheet of paper with a message directed at me. The message read the following: "Hi, you're an incredibly pretty woman, and I love to watch you shop every week at Walmart. I follow you when you walk home, just to make sure you get there safely. There are a lot of dangerous people out there, and I want to keep you safe from them. I hope you wear that short black skirt again next Sunday. The way it fits you is perfect. I wanted to tell you how much I appreciate seeing you every week. It really makes my week complete. I think it's time we finally meet and have dinner together. Maybe after you check out next time, you'll turn around and smile at me." The letter was signed, "See you very soon, my darling." I read it over again, feeling a chill run through me. I wondered if somebody was stalking me, or if this was some kind of sick joke. I had never noticed anyone following me at Walmart. I didn't go when it was particularly busy either. I usually got my shopping done before my Pilates class. I went around 7 a.m. when the particular store I went to was still fairly quiet. I thought about skipping my Walmart trip the following week, but ultimately, I went. I needed groceries, and I figured it was probably just some dumb prank or misunderstanding. That Sunday, I went back at my usual time. The store opened at 6, so I'd arrive at 7 and be out by 7:30. I went through my usual aisles, getting the things I needed. This time, I was extra cautious. I paid attention to everyone around me, looking for anyone who seemed out of place or to be watching me. But I didn't notice anything. About halfway through my trip, I was in one of the aisles near the back of the store. It was in a much less crowded section, away from most of the other shoppers. For whatever reason, I looked to my right. Behind one of the end caps, someone was crouched down. A man. He was partly hidden, but I could see that he was looking right at me. The second I saw him, he quickly ducked down, disappearing from view. My stomach dropped. That had to be him. I didn't waste another second. I walked straight to the checkout and told the cashier about the man hiding behind the shelves. She said she would tell a manager, but I wasn't sticking around to find out what happened. I left the store and went home. I decided never to return to that Walmart. There was no way I was going back. What creeped me out the most was realizing that this man had been watching me every time I shopped. If he had been watching me all this time, I had never once noticed. He was good at staying hidden. Later, after my morning Pilates class, I was the last to leave the studio. As I grabbed my things, I looked out the front window. It was him, the same man from Walmart. He was standing on the footpath, holding up a sign, just like a scene out of Love Actually, but much, much creepier. The sign read, "I hope you're hungry, darling." Then, he blew me a kiss and fast walked away. Later that evening, I was home alone when there was a knock at my front door. It was around 6 p.m. My stomach turned. I got up and went to the window, looking outside. It was him again. He was holding this large plastic Tupperware container. My heart started racing. He knocked again when I didn't answer right away. That was enough. I grabbed my phone and called the police. I stayed on the phone with the dispatcher, heart pounding, waiting for them to arrive. By the time the police got there, he was gone. but the plastic container was left on the porch, filled with what I assume was soup. I wasn't about to taste it. I threw it straight into the trash. They looked around outside but didn't find anyone. They took my statement, but said there wasn't much they could do unless he came back. That night, he didn't return. For several days, I didn't see or hear from him. I wasn't going back to Walmart, and I wasn't going back to Pilates either. I was being extra careful. Then, later that week, I got another letter. This one was longer than the first. He wrote that he was disappointed that I didn't want to have dinner with him, but he hoped that I enjoyed the food. He was even more disappointed, though, that I had called the police. And lastly, he promised that he wouldn't bother me anymore. I was surprised, but more than that, I was relieved. After that letter, I never heard from him again. It's amazing how he just stopped. This man had gone to such extreme lengths. He had found out where I lived. He had hidden inside of Walmart to watch me. He had followed me home. He had followed me to my Pilates, my sanctuary. I guess he had enough sense to realize that I had involved the police, and if he kept going, he could end up in serious trouble. I don't know why he stopped, and I don't care. I just hope I never see or hear from him again. I've been shopping at Walmart for years. I know the store like the back of my hand. I always grab a small basket instead of a cart, since I usually just pick up a few things. There are certain aisles I always go through. It's become muscle memory from how many times I've been there. Most people just mind their own business, and I never had any problems. But one day, something felt off. I got this weird, nagging feeling that someone was watching me. My body tensed up for no reason. That's exactly what it felt like. At first, I thought I was imagining it. This was just Walmart, a place I've been to countless times. There was no reason to feel this way. Still, I found myself scanning the aisles. That's when I saw her. A sweet-looking elderly woman was staring at me from across the store. She had perfect white hair styled neatly, like she'd just come from the salon. Her floral dress and cardigan made her look like someone's kind grandmother. Her eyes were fixed on me as she stood there, just watching me. I tried to ignore it. Maybe she wasn't looking at me. I turned around to see if someone was behind me. There was no one else in the aisle. I told myself she was probably looking at something on the shelves. But the feeling didn't go away. I moved to a different section, hoping to shake the unease. Then, I saw her again. She was standing near the women's clothing section. If not for her shopping cart, she didn't look like she was shopping. She had that same pleasant smile. Her eyes never left me. I tried to convince myself it was just a coincidence. Maybe she was just lost or confused. I moved again, this time heading toward the electronics section. I made sure to glance behind me to see if she was following. I didn't see her, and I started to feel relieved. Then, as I was looking at headphones, I noticed her standing right beside me. She appeared out of nowhere. She started talking to me about her son, said he was special and kind, asked if I was single, and she asked where I lived. I didn't answer her, just smiled back. Said I seemed like a nice girl. She told me she needed help carrying her groceries to her car because of her arthritis. I hesitated, but she seemed so harmless. Just a sweet old lady who needed help. As I was mostly done with my shopping, I nodded and followed her to her cart, which was filled with groceries. We checked out, and I helped her push the cart to the parking lot, with my shopping basket sitting on top. My car was parked toward the back of the parking lot, but I'd need to get her settled first. I continued pushing her cart. My heart was still racing slightly from my earlier unease. That's when a van pulled up beside us, blocking my path to the main lot. The side door was wide open. I felt a deep sinking feeling in my stomach. Then, the window rolled down. A young man was sitting in the driver's seat, looking nervous. He had distinctive features that suggested some kind of medical condition, but I couldn't say exactly what. Behind the wheel, he was mumbling something I couldn't understand. Before I could react, an elderly man stepped out from inside the van. The sweet old lady suddenly grabbed my arm with surprising strength. They both tried shoving me toward the open van door. I screamed louder than I ever had in my life. I kicked, punched, and thrashed against them. While all this was happening, the old man told me not to resist. The woman went on that I would be handsomely rewarded for my troubles, and that I would be perfect for her son, and that he needed someone to take care of him when they were gone. Somehow, I broke free. But as I got away, the elderly man jumped back inside the van, and the old lady climbed into the driver's seat, shoving the young man over. The old man grabbed hold of my jacket, and then the van started moving, dragging me along the pavement. Pain shot through my legs as I was scraped along the ground. I wasn't even thinking. I just knew I had to make them pay for this. I dug my heels into the pavement and screamed for help. My body was battered and I could barely move, but I refused to give in. Then, I managed to slip out of my jacket and I tumbled onto the ground. I could hear people shouting in the distance. I saw blurred figures running toward me before my vision faded. When I woke up, I was in the hospital. The police told me they caught the elderly couple. The young man had tried to run, but later turned himself in. During questioning, it became clear the young man didn't fully understand what his parents were doing. He thought they were just giving someone a ride. The elderly couple was charged with attempted kidnapping. The son was put in a group home. Since then, I never go anywhere alone. It doesn't matter if it's Walmart, Target, or anywhere else. I always watch my back, because predators don't always look like monsters. I think I was 5 years old when this happened. Back then, my family would shop at Walmart regularly. Both my dad and mom would go there all the time. It was probably the main store where we would get most of our groceries and stuff. One time I went there with just my mom. I don't remember why my dad or any of my other siblings didn't join, but it was just us. After we got inside, we got drinks from the McDonald's that this particular Walmart had near the entrance, where you could buy food and stuff. Then we shopped for all the things that we had to get. I'm not sure, but it probably took like 45 minutes or so. I remember that we went up and down just about every aisle. It seemed like my mom would take longer than my dad to shop, because she wasn't as organized. She had a list, but she never seemed to know where everything was, and we'd go up and down the same aisles. After we were finally done shopping, we checked out. My mom told me that she had to use the bathroom quick before we left and asked me if I had to go. I did, but I didn't want to use the bathroom at Walmart and felt that I could wait until we got home, so I said no. So I waited by the shopping cart right outside of the bathroom while my mom went in. Probably less than 20 seconds later, I saw this man coming up towards me, and he was wearing a Walmart uniform. And because of the uniform, I assumed that he worked there. The man was sort of big and had glasses on. He asked me if I was waiting for my parents, and I said yes, my mom. Then he told me that I wasn't allowed to wait right there, and that it was a new store policy. This sounds so stupid years later, but I actually believed him. He said with a thick accent to follow him, and that he and a trainee would show me where I could wait. So I took the cart and started to follow him. He told me that I needed to leave the cart behind though. The man went across the main walkway, only about 15 feet away, and stopped near a woman who was looking at some items on a shelf. She was also wearing a uniform. The woman smiled at me. She had the same accent as the man. She told me that there was a toy section nearby where kids were supposed to wait for their parents. The man and woman started walking toward a side exit I hadn't noticed before, gesturing for me to follow them. I followed for a few steps, then stopped. Something didn't feel right. By now, I was very confused. It looked like we were going to leave the store. I stopped where I was, knowing that something was seriously wrong with this situation. The woman then stopped and turned back to me. She told me to come along, saying my mom knew where to find me, but I wasn't that stupid. That's when I noticed that neither of them had a name tag on their uniform. At first that didn't register with me, but now it did, and it didn't sit right with me. I started turning around to go back. The man then walked over to me and he grabbed my arm. The woman moved to block the view from other shoppers, standing between me and the main aisle. But then, a Walmart employee walked around the corner and saw us. The man who had me turned around, letting me go. The woman quickly said something to him in their language. The man and woman then hurried to the side exit and left. The employee came over and asked if I was okay. Before I could answer, my mom appeared. My mom rushed over and got me and asked me what was going on. I told her what had happened, and the store manager and police ended up being called to the Walmart. The employee described the couple to the police while my mom held me close. I didn't realize just how serious of a situation that was at the time, but I do now. Years later, I still feel very lucky that I got away from them. I mean, my mom wasn't even in the bathroom for 5 minutes, and I was right outside of it. About a week later, my mom saw on the local news that the same couple was caught trying to lure a kid at the Target across town. Store security at Target detained them until the police arrived. I don't know what happened after that.